Yo, welcome back to Sentient Synchronicities. Tonight we're going to be talking about a Blackfoot concept, which is Igokima. Try harder. I tried since before my beginnings in this existence. I've lied many a time, but always to the cops and dishonorable lawyers and judges. The con men that clutch not that I was just smoking some Dutchess and ganja on the dusty corners, where I was most often not paying attention to what those liars must have taught in classes, where vampires were sucking up prana from luckless masses of pupils with irises, absorbed by the black holes of the lust of their officers and professors, prison guards and neo-residential systems of horrors as renovated as the paint on the wall is, to cover up the blood and echoes of screams in hallways of child prisoners forced into vile submission by nuns and priests with no sun in sight in their glum features, or oral Catholic traditions. They shunned me as a child of the devil, as some beasts that they slaughtered in dungeons to force feed us as auction meat. But I was not on their level above, yes. As wild as Kikwa, Kuakweka, Juka, Baruaka, Divina in the midst of subarctic winters. Trust me when I tell you these tales are so far from fiction. You know not you were sober imposters in comparison to test me. I try to control my thoughts. I am as destined as the spear of my namesake is in profession. Ask me what my indigenous karma is. I'd say life in war, but we are ready with no stripes or honors upon us. Living in a freedom eternally, yes, regardless. I see the inner demons burning in your eyes, sometimes as colonizers in denial of all you fought to genocide us, while you talked of not being your forefathers, like we were not. Yo,
Yo,
what's good? Yo,
uh,
let me add back on here too, so we have you have that triad going on. Boom.
okay, good.
Yeah, that's one of my best friends since ages ago.
Awesome,
Yo,
awesome, awesome.
I love that. It seems like Ryan, it looks like you're like in a Neo Tokyo like sector somewhere, and it says Sage dropping down on some like neon headlight or something.
Yeah, I'm in Tokyo. No,
Seems like you're incognito
Nayarit.
in a hidden location in the background, like in a science fictional future somewhere.
It does look like a tower, some Tokyo tower of some sort. You're correct.
Yeah, and I look like I'm sitting on top of things, I got my Swarovski crystal in the background. I look like I'm like living in a like high rise somewhere, you know.
Yeah, some sort of like somewhere that you got a good permission to be a part of wherever you are. Um, So I have to do like I'm a little bit distracted right now, but I'm going to stay in the call and I'll jump into the video in like 3 minutes. So
Yo,
yeah, please welcome your guest and happy to meet you, other brother. And I'm excited to hear what we have to talk about.
yo, peace poetry too. It's a pleasure. Is that's Alijo, right? Yeah, yo, it's been a while, man. It's crazy because I'm talking about trying harder tonight, and we're not trying harder, But maybe that's part of the whole yo peace Nick too. That's bomb. Yeah, so maybe the whole point of trying harder is that we don't always need to try harder. Like sometimes it's like the only thing I meant by that introduction, to be honest, and the track itself goes into so many aspects that we never could have done more about. There's so much oppression that we tried. But the thing is, I just want to get rid of the expression, the idea I tried my best, because we never really, really tried. This is the occasion where we do something like that. That's why the Blackfoot saying Igokima, actually, when you say try harder, it means like, yo, you can double up your efforts. It's like seeing an emu in Oceania, like a spirit teacher. As the totem teacher, the emu will tell you double up your efforts, try harder. It's for advanced spiritual practitioners. So imagine when I was on a road trip with my the love of my life across Canada, and we saw two emus hopping by the side of the highway. Crazy ass shit in Ontario. I'm like, emus? Those are from Oceania. Like, there's no way. This isn't from here. I'm pretty pretty sure we don't know. They had escaped a farm and they had escaped into freedom in the wilderness of Canada in northern Ontario in the middle of the summer, a couple of emus. I'm like, yo. So I looked it up and I'm like, oh, that means double up your effort. It's only for advanced shamanistic initiates or shamanic initiates. So I was like, okay, this is a good sign. Good reminder to keep doubling up and trying harder and harder, because when you get to the day where you black out at nighttime and you're like, shit, I've done everything I could. Like some days where I'd signed like 500 petitions, I gave like 3 conferences, went and did slam poetry, managed the ashram that night, helped out a couple more people, maybe dumpster dived and brought back boxes of food for everyone at the lodge. Then I was like, yo, I tried my best. And even then, I'm like, I still could have done more.
Well, here's something interesting to think about. Most people have never reached a flow state. They have never seen what they're actually capable of. There will be times where you accomplish more in 6 hours than you had accomplished in 6 months.
Yeah.
And when you break through and you realize what you're actually capable of, I would say like 65% of people have never reached that flow state. So it's not just about being told you have to try harder. It's just you are capable of so much more than you could ever imagine.
It's a bad translation, to be honest. When I try harder, it just means, because there's this white new age idea that's like, I did my best, okay? I did everything I could. Everybody said, but in Indigenous principles, it's like, yo, you can keep trying. Like, you got this. You can invest. It's a bad translation to say try harder. It doesn't mean hard as in tough.
But it's a perfect
Like,
introduction to the idea.
try again. Like, say, Aliyah, dust yourself off and try again. Like, if at first you don't succeed, that tracks. So the idea of that is like, if you're not successful, keep trying. Keep trying.
Yeah, no, it's the perfect introduction to the idea of maximizing your potential. And I would say like 65, maybe even 70% of people, they have never experienced that. It's almost like a singularity where you accomplish so much so rapidly, and then you realize, oh my God, we are mutant quantum angels, and we have so much potential to be articulating and developing, processing, and accomplishing on a ridiculously high level. And until you've experienced a taste of that, then you just think, oh, I'll just get my coffee. Maybe just very limited beliefs. In the flow state, when you hit a point where it's like realize you can impact 20 lives in one day. You can initiate 10 projects in one day. Or maybe you just need to sleep for a week. Like, it's not about hyperactivity, but if you haven't experienced the true potential of being a human being, oh, you're missing out.
No, that's facts. And to be honest, like, I agree. Like, it's the way you explain it, I would put it in a way that most people haven't reached their Bruce Lee level of flow state. You know what I mean? But I've had glimpses of bits and pieces of what it could be like. Like, I've had bits, especially in dreams. In dream state, we can really, like, in lucid dream state, when you're fully yourself. I've had lucid dream states where I'm flying around literally, and Black Hawk helicopters are trying to shoot me down, Neo in the Matrix style, and I'm ducking and dodging bullets and just absorbing them and going like.
But you're flying as a human, or you're in an
Yeah, there's a
aircraft.
human in my dream, like, but I'm in my like Neo in the Matrix style, like end of the Matrix, flying around, taking down Black Hawk helicopters by
But you
hand.
have an aircraft, or you're flying with your
No, I'm
body?
flying like me myself, like
Yeah,
flying
man, I have the same dreams. For me, I start running, and then I start running like a Wolverine, like all
Yeah.
fours, and then I launch and I fly for like 10 minutes, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a human. And then boom, I wake up, and then my girlfriend's yelling at me.
That
Yeah.
kind of Yo, and I stop in the trees and I talk to like the birds and I talk to like the creatures in the trees and they tell me stuff, and then they start shooting at me again from another fucking helicopter, and I'm like, fuck, I duck the Gatling guns and I start flying towards it, and then I'm like, move my
Yeah.
hand kinetically, and then the helicopters start going doot, 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 doot. And I'm
Now,
like, fuck.
brother, I want to hear more about dreams. Maybe this could be part of the topics tonight of sharing our dreams, because clearly you've had big ones. I dream in vivid color pretty much every night. When
Yeah.
my brothers drowned, okay, so for anyone listening, 13 years ago, I lost my only two siblings. They drowned in Toronto, Canada. And around that time, I was having very traumatic dreams because of the loss of my bros. I would have dreams where I'm just walking around super innocent, and then I get cornered by people with AK-47s, and then they start shooting my entire body. I've had like 4 or 5 dreams of just straight up like firing squad. And originally it's really scary in the first moment, and then it's just surrender. It's like, well, I guess I'm dead. So
Yo, imagine this talking about a firing squad and people with AKs. So you know this already, but most people might not know this. Last month, I just came out from this like about a week ago. But last month, I spent a month on high security again because they came here in this very room, right where I'm sitting. I was laying down on the bed where I'm sitting, and a SWAT team came in, 6 people with AR-16s and sniper scopes with the red dot and 2 other cops, so 8 in total, came into this room, busted into this room with like sniper scopes, 6 red dots on the fucking bed, right where I'm standing speaking right now. And I got locked up on high security for a month. So thank the goddess I was laying down peaceably in bed. If I was juggling machetes when they walked in, I'd be gone. If I had coughed even, probably. They were like, "Where's the drugs? Where's the weapons?" I'm like, no, there's no drugs. There's no weapons. I like put my hands up slowly behind my head. I'm like,
no, you're totally right. The fact that you were in a peaceful, tranquil state that pacified the whole situation.
it did. They looked ridiculous. They walked out really quickly after that because they realized that, they couldn't say shit to me because I was like, no, and then they repeated again. I'm like, no, I said, there's no drugs. There's just a prescription marijuana that I have a prescription for from Toronto, from Apollo Clinics. It's in the cupboard over there. And I said, I have some tools. Those are machetes. Those are tools on the chair over there in the sheaths. And they're like, "Where's the drugs? Where's the weapons?" And I'm like, "I don't have any drug." I'm like, "I don't know what you're doing here. I'm not too sure why you're doing this." They're like, and the one guy was like, "Shut up!" And he started like clicking the what do you call the taser? He's like, and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, okay. I don't. There's no drugs. There's no weapons." And
This
then
was Quebec.
backed out. They backed out of the room and just disappeared. And the 2 cops walked in and diffused the situation. And they were super calm. They didn't put the cuffs on, nothing. They're just like, okay,
No,
we're gonna have to take you to like the university hospital center just for like the night. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, no problem. They're like, you can just throw some, we'll turn around. You can put some clothes on, whatever. We're not gonna cuff you, no nothing. Then a social worker came, picked me up. Then they took me back, $2,200 fucking dollars worth of taxi, and about 1,000 kilometers later, they took me back to Matapedia, to where I live, which is ridiculous amount of taxpayers' money after a SWAT team, especially. And then they locked me up for 30 days, and here I am. I just came back.
whoa, dude. And this was Quebec, right?
Yeah, this is in Rimouski that they took me back to. Rimouski has been occupied by the Nazis since I don't know when the first time they were officially, but when France was occupied by the Nazis, Quebec was too. And people don't want to talk about that history because it's a port city. So it had like reverse engineered, like it had like Sing Sing and Alcatraz and like fucking prison, like the old school high security prison, pneumatic technology, German reverse engineering Nazi technology. They have that shit in that hospital. That hospital is old, man. Rimouski's been existing since the 1700s.
Wild,
You
bro.
can imagine
You've been through so much, my friend.
in the 1700s and 1800s, you can imagine the amount of abuses and like indigenous depopulation and genocide that was happening there. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
for sure. Yeah, yeah. No, they were still cutting people's tongues out at that point. If you couldn't speak English, if you weren't willing to acclimatize to their religions and well, Christianity and the English language, there were children who were not able to learn fast enough. They had their fucking tongues cut out, man.
Man, I gotta destroy more people so much. Like seriously, I gotta destroy the ghosts of all these colonists too. I feel like we don't do enough ever. This is why I made this whole show, Igokima
Bro,
Try Harder.
LSD squirt guns. That's where it's
That,
at.
that could work. That could easily work. But like That's the point, is that I have to actually be able to be more efficient, to be more intersectional, to be more spanning in global reach in order to achieve more with Mutant Academy. Because the whole point of Mutant Academy and the X-Men and everything we've done is to actually expand and replace the education
For
system, which is
sure. Yeah.
what in
You want efficiency, you want results for sure. What I've learned is that we have these very powerful ambitions, but what I've learned is the the well, the lesson that I received, which seems much more tangible, is we have an individual reach that's a lot closer to home. We have a specialized focus. Often we get too big with our thinking. We're thinking of big solutions, big ideas, and everything. But maybe it's wise to think that maybe your most powerful aspect could be a little closer to home in smaller communities or in more humble uh, efforts. Not to say that you're doing anything wrong, but we want to see big changes. But sometimes the biggest changes start with very small seeds. You know.
And honestly, the vice versa as well, because a lot of, in French, we have this saying, nobody's a prophet in their own country. So sometimes when you're at home, you have no influence, no change whatsoever on your immediate community. But then worldwide, you have immense amounts of respect in places that are unfathomed. Many people don't seem to realize that the most people that listen to my music, South Africa and India and Persia. So
Oh,
where and in Canada, in English Canada, a lot more people listen to my music than in French Canada. So in Quebec, in my own province, barely anyone knows me. Barely anyone listens to my shit. I have very little influence. I have very little sphere of influence. But then everywhere else across the cosmos, across this planet, at the very least, in many senses, I have way more influence.
this is very true. This is very true. I spent so much time trying to reach the people of Toronto. I grew up an hour and a half from Toronto for 27 years of my life. I was born in Kitchener, and at 3 months old, I went. My family moved 30 minutes away from Kitchener, and this is just an hour from Toronto. I lived there for 27 years. When I got into the state of awakening and getting into service to bring mental health solutions, nutrition, and shamanism to people, I tried very hard to impact the people of Toronto. It never reached the Torontonians. The people of Toronto were not receptive to what I had to offer. Then I started getting all these messages from people from Africa. It was all African, Uganda, Nigeria, Sierra Leone. I'm getting all these messages saying, "Oh, I'm seeing what you're doing." And all these people in Africa have perfect English. It's crazy. And I was so surprised to know that somehow, and I wasn't like trying to advertise or publicize myself on some level of like trying to reach out internationally. They just came to me, and I was totally humbled and very happy to know that, wow, there's a recognition. And as you're saying, it was the last place I would expect. It was across the ocean, and it's very cool.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like honestly, same thing. South Africa, particularly all over Africa and all across the planet in indigenous cultures, diasporically and Afro-Asiatically. But then especially in South Africa, if you look at the hip hop scene, it puts the whole American and like even Canadian mainstream hip hop scene to shame, man. Like their English is so evolved compared to the shit that we have here. Our shit sounds like ABC 1 2 3 Mother Goose, like fucking nursery rhyme shit. What they're doing is like Afrofuturistic forefront of innovation. Like it's like super complex, super evolved shit. You look at Iapetus Records, you look at anything coming out of South Africa in general, in the hip hop scene, and like the fusion scene, and the R&B scene, and the soul scene. You're just like, man, nobody's fucking with that. Like it's like there's so many worldwide, but this is the problem. All the focus is on the American side of things, and then they start saying that, like, for example, who's the king between Kendrick and Drake and J. Cole, when before it used to be between Jay-Z and Nas and Biggie or Tupac. It's always the same, like, it's a battle between, these main industry figures of certain genres of music, or the Rolling Stones or Red Hot Chili Peppers or this or that. It's like, but then when you really look at what those groups represent, they're not the summit of musical achievement. They're not the summit of artistry. They're not the true kings. It's just a king of a moment. It's like a king in an
Totally.
that's crumbling, that has maybe 5 years, maybe another one has 10 years, maybe another one 15, 20 years worth of career. But what does that career really translate into significantly in terms of change and in terms of positive impact and innovation on their own communities, on the diasporic communities, through their message, especially? Is it misogynistic? Is it queerphobic? So that's why, another reason why I say try harder in this video, is if you start deconstructing the whole industry, there's so much misogyny, so much patriarchy, so much queerphobia in so many styles of music. There's so much abuse, rape culture, the whole denial of genocide. There's so much going on in terms of denying residential schools, denying the education system's flaws, or demonizing completely, the idea of having any part in reforming the system, while at the same time being full of stereotypes and materialization and objectification. So then associating that with cultures that are diasporic, like somehow it's like, I'm sorry, but like, there's nothing, if you look at music, the roots of true music come from diasporic cultures that have nothing to do with objectification, misogyny, or patriarchy. And that's the true roots of that diaspora. But when somebody like some fucking 3 6 Mafia or Yin Yang Twins hide behind like cultural appropriation and a bunch of shit to try to claim that they're like representing a style of music and they should be free to express their views on objectifying and abusing and infantilizing, barely legal, goddesses that are the objects of their fantasies in disgusting, perverted ways. I'm like, that's not music. That's not creativity. That's not anything that they could ever pass off as an artistic venture.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, these people who have that mainstream reach and that high level influence, they're the ones who have been recognized by the corporations that are supporting them. And the thing is, like I'm a chef. Like I make a lot of my money through cooking private contracts and in different restaurants. And what I've noticed is, like, it's just a good comparison. The best chefs in the world, you'll never hear about them. And they'll never get any publicity because they're too damn busy doing their thing. And that's the same with music. It's like the best people who have the most sacred message, they are busy. They're doing their thing, and they're not seeking publicity. They're not seeking recognition. And the ones who have the recognition, most of the time, it's because they've sold out on some level. And when you do that, it shows an aspect of your character that shows that you are susceptible to, just selling out. And then what is your overall well, I don't want to say global perspective, but what is your view of humanity, or what is your philosophy if you're willing to sell out? And then of course the ideas they share are bullshit, and they are disrespectful to women, and disrespectful to the growth of humanity, because the people who are getting all the exposure, the only reason they're getting it is because they are, they were susceptible to getting into the mainstream in the first place. And no, there could be people who can get into the mainstream and be truly awake, but I haven't really seen any of them. I know it's possible, but
bits and pieces. Like, say, back in the days, of course, like Lauryn Hill, the Fugees, like, there was Rod Digger, like Harriet Tubman from Flip Mode Squad. I was just looking at that today in Black History Month. There was a lot of, like, really inspirational artistic figures in the hip hop community in the divine feminine form. But in the male form, that sure, I grew up on Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Black Star, Black Thought, The Roots. There's a lot of good conscious figures, but what we considered to be other conscious revolutionary figures like RZA, like Biggie, like Puff Daddy, that all these figures get revealed later on as being interconnected, like Epstein Island and all this shit. They're like going to like weird, fucked up sodomitic rituals, and then they're like, "Oh, we're not really a part of that. We had nothing." I'm like, "There's videos all over incriminating you," and then suddenly everybody comes out and starts being a witness, and they're all admitting that they've been there, but they didn't know what to do. And then people are just washing that over like it never happened, and we fall back into like glorifying people that are mainstream figureheads in this occult industry. So I'm like, me, I don't even look at the skin tone or the background or the gender of a person anymore. To me, at the end of the day, if you've got 300 trillion hits on YouTube, I'm not taking you seriously. You've been paying off for something, like you said. To me, and like a lot of people said, the revolution is not in the mainstream. It's not the people that are the most celebrated. It's not the people that we consider the most. And if they are, those are usually figures of the revolution that have died as martyrs, that are already passed away. And then they become figures, inspiration, like Che, like Malcolm. Like, I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but like, like the original Harriet Tubman, not Rod Digger, but like that's a reincarnation. To me, it's a direct correlation. So Operation Underground Railroad, a bunch of different concepts. Now we look at those people as being, and the most important ones are the ones we don't name. The most important ones are the nameless revolutionaries. There's trillions and trillions and trillions of them that we do not remember the names. So don't ever try to play an Olympics of oppression on who remembers what name, because at the end of the day, I don't mean you, but I mean people in general should stop saying, do you remember, come on, remember George Floyd? Yes, super important. But then also remember all the other nameless people that we never mention.
Yeah,
Remember our
you'll never even hear about them. And
struggle.
yeah, it's I know that there is the possibility, and there are certain times where truly influential people who really had the proper understanding, they did slip into the mainstream, but it's very rare. Most often, it's people who are uh, influencing a small amount of people. But this is the thing about the quantum physics and the morphic resonance. When you create a resolution in your small community, let's say you influence 10 people, once that has been established, it's like wirelessly transmitted through the Ethernet, the original internet. And when you realize something, so there was an experiment in it was like 1970 or something. There was some scientists who were observing a remote island, and they found, I don't know if they were baboons, some sort of primate, and they were observing how they were relating to discovering new tools to dig into trees and eat worms and shit. So what they noticed was when one group of monkeys on this isolated island would discover a new technology, like when I say technology, I mean a new skill,
Yeah,
to be able to sharpen a rock or
yeah,
something. Then the neighboring islands, which were like hundreds of kilometers away,
yeah.
as soon as the original island of monkeys discovered that new craft or new tactic, and immediately the neighboring islands, which were hundreds of kilometers away, completely inaccessible to the other monkeys, they would pick that up and immediately adapt to that same behavior because it's called morphic
Yeah.
resonance. There's an ethereal internet that exists. So if
Well,
you create a resolution in your life on the smallest scale, it ripples out instantaneously. And
that
this is
is
a huge thing.
telepathic. It's like Sense8 too. It's a quantum correlation, quantum proximity, and quantum correlation. That's what
See?
morphogenetic or morphic resonance is.
Yes, morphic resonance. The study well, it's now known as the 100th monkey rule, because on this island, it was like when it wasn't when 100 monkeys learned it, it was something like when they hit what's the word? It's not what's the word when you hit that uh specific percentage, that shifting point, that tipping point. It's like when you hit 49% or something,
40%
then
of the brain
instantly.
is when you can start controlling other people. When you start having influence, telekinetic influence on other beings. So not just on yourself. It's when your force field at 40% of brain activity supposedly is when your force field and aura is powerful enough to have influence upon other beings
Nice.
indirectly.
Yeah,
So
so
that would
it was no, there's a specific terminology, like it's basically the same word as like tipping point or It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's not definitely not the word singularity. It's like tipping point when you hit like 51.5%. It's the critical
Oh yeah,
mass. Yeah, critical
yeah.
mass. That's it. So yeah, so when these isolated um, primates would learn a new skill, as soon as enough of them learned it, instantly it would be adopted hundreds of kilometers away on other isolated islands. The other monkeys would start doing the same skill spontaneously. And it's like, that's what we're doing. So when we make realizations, when we reach certain levels of understanding, it is broadcast and it is adapted, it is adopted intuitively by those who people, right?
That's very factual, actually. I was just about to grab myself some salad right now, but I'm like, nah, that's very unprofessional of me in the middle of a fucking podcast. But I wanted to segue that into actually like, ITAL is vital nutrition because I was gonna literally just grab some simple, wild mixed greens with like sprouts from
Have you
different
already
seeds.
made the
Uh,
salad? Is
yeah,
it prepared or you need to prepare
already.
it?
It's like just sitting there. Give me a second. I'll bring.
Like, is it ready to go or do you still need to prepare?
Boom. So that's my salad. Um, yeah, that's
Okay,
what I
I'm getting a little bit of connection problems here. Okay, so what I asked here, yeah, issues here. Okay, I think it's good now. So I was going to say it would be a perfect opportunity. I can go through the topics that I was considering discussing tonight while you enjoy this salad. But you got to mute your mic because some people, they're going to be tripping out if they're hearing too many background noises. So I'm just going to breeze through these topics and I think I can get into the video stream at this point. So let me know if my video signal cuts out because I'm oh, all right, you're still able to hear me? Just give me a thumbs up because I think you're muted. All right. So I'm just going to bring up the actually this will be actually perfect. I had wanted to address today. Yeah, there's something going on with the signal here. I think it's okay. It's not too bad. Yeah, it should be fine. Um, all right. So I'm going to just go a list of topics here, just to uh, sort of lay down a bit of a foundation for these talks tonight. Well, it may have been, there's a possibility that it was deleted. So, um, uh, give me 1 second. Very interesting. Um, I've been noticing so many times where certain information just seems to disappear. All right, I totally found it. I found what I was looking for. Oh, maybe not.
Yo, I munched out hard on that salad. I just want to say to people, keep it ital, keep it vital. Fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh
List
legumes.
the ingredients, bro.
Oh
What are the
my God.
ingredients?
So it's a mix and match. It's a mescaline, a mix and match of a bunch of like 6 or 7
Mescaline?
different types of salads. Sprouts, like salad plus sprouts. I can't even tell you all the ingredients because it's repurposed. Like it's like discounted, like carbon negative discount bin. So it was like 50-70% off, and still perfectly fresh. I got a big bin of like sprouted, like 3 or 4 different types of sprouts, and then a big bin of like maybe 5-6 different types of like, say, like red oak sprouts and spinach and arugula and like a bunch of other things, and then chopped up tomatoes and some nutritional yeast and Tunisian olive oil and local apple cider vinegar, and just sprinkled all that together.
Beautiful. I would like to put a big highlight on arugula. So arugula and watercress are both astringent, which it pulls toxins out of the body. So arugula is honestly my favorite green. You can grow this so easy. We all have to get back into growing herbs, like even to grow a bit of cilantro or basil, just to have a little bit of something that you can bring into your meals. That even just a little tiny bit of basil that you grew yourself, that changes the dynamic of your meal on like a quantum scale and on a high level scale, even though it's just a little addition of a simple herb,
Yeah.
because you grew it, that energy, it is so far
And
reaching.
I'll tell you, Virgin, carbon negative and dumpster diving will make a huge difference too, because the energy from that is carbon free, it's karma free. So it's like removing yourself from the carbon footprint of having the privilege. So you have the privilege of having all these beautiful ingredients in your meals, but you're removing yourself from the privilege of having to pay for the import or the carbon footprint by reusing what's going to be put to waste. So that's what this
Totally.
is in the mind state of.
Yeah, and it's crazy the amount of like when it comes to like large scale supermarkets, the amount of fresh food that they're throwing out, organic stuff, like you know this, brother. What they're throwing out, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. There should be some drop off point to at least to make that available to the homeless or something.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
no joke.
All right, so
So much.
I found the notes I was looking for. So here's the topics that we were originally going to address: sound healing and music as medicine. The second one is general wellness and nutrition, and then conscious evolution, how we can grow as individuals by focusing on what really matters. It's simple. It sounds complex, but
Oh no,
conscious
I think so far
evolution,
we've addressed all of those today, actually, in a sense, from the
it
start.
gets better. It gets way better. Conscious evolution and conflict resolution. So what we're looking for is how are we going to solve these problems? How are we going to get outside of argumentative natures? How are we going to get through these family problems and all of that? But then we continue. Mental health. And then it moves on: schizophrenia versus omniphrenia.
Mm.
Schizophrenia being a personal disorder, omniphrenia being a shamanic gift of being tuned into all
Mhm.
aspects of everyone who surrounds you. And it's usually about a 3 kilometer radius if you're omniphrenic, which we all are. You're actually able to perceive the thoughts, words, and deeds of everyone who surrounds you in about a 3 kilometer radius, give or take. And then we could talk about bipolar versus quadpolar. This is all very abstract, but then we get into solutions for 2025, possibilities for education, concepts of symbolism, concepts of language and etymology, and then astrology would be a nice one. And then I consulted ChatGPT. I was asking, based on what we were choosing to do for this interview, what are 3 more additional topics that we could consider? And what the artificial intelligence suggested was to simply discuss AI. And then the second one was to discuss our perception of time, and then timeline manipulation, like this idea that we can cross into different timelines. And then the third one is the esoteric nature of money and value systems. So I'll leave it at that for a moment, and I'll be ready to go on to the video for just give me 2 minutes, okay?
Yeah, no stress. I'm just sparking some, so we're good.
I'm doing the same thing. Wait. So the area of Mexico that I'm in, it has some of the most beautiful, pure organic tobacco. And unfortunately, I'm still smoking these chemical cigarettes, which are very terrible because right here, like it's one of in all of Mexico, it's some of the best organic tobacco that's growing here. And because my life has been flipped upside down, I've been getting new living situation and everything. Like sometimes you just have to like bite the bullet and deal with the fact that like nothing is perfect, and then you got to buy these things. And this isn't even tobacco. Like it's the amount of preservatives and chemicals in these commercially produced cigarettes, absolute disrespect to the beautiful medicine of tobacco. When you utilize organic tobacco, you smoke way less of it. It's an absolute medicine. It actually heals the body. I would say tobacco actually cures cancer.
It
The
does.
reason cigarettes
There's
are
a lot of
associated with cancer is because of the chemicals that, you know.
tobacco is the essence of truth. That's what the mapacho is meant to be, the essence of truth. Wah mapacho, any mapacho is meant to be the grandfather of truth. But it could be the grandmother, the grandfather, the grand descendant, the grand ancestor. I think we only limit it to one gender sometimes without even realizing that it represents the whole spectrum, you know. It's just
Oh,
more
for sure.
associated with
Yeah,
and Jane.
if there is if there's an anthropomorphic essence to the creator, this would be a dualistic, dual-gendered being. This would be our creator for sure. You know, as above, so below. If we have parents in this world, if every living being, whether we're talking mammalian or anything just with a spinal cord, if they have parents, wouldn't we have cosmic parents? And if we're looking for a god, this god would be, just by logical deduction of reason, it would be a dual gendered being, right?
And it would be plant. It would be a plant teacher totem. It'd be a divine feminine being, or a plant teacher totem, or an animalistic totem, an animistic, shamanistic. You know, like a being from ancient primordial times that represents all of the different realms. So, to me, that being would be in divine feminine form, or would be in plant androgynous form. And if in any form, even in plant form and divine feminine form, makes the most sense, because that's the most beauteous form of the plant. That's the blossoming flower, you know. The male plant is very beautiful too, sure, you know, like it's got a lot of seeds though, you know, and the female plant with the flowers, like the most beauteous. So, me personally, I don't mind, because some people will be like, well, the seeds are useful for making, like, you know, you make like hemp seeds, like you make like all kinds of hemp flour, you can use hemp hearts, you can make hemp oil, I'm like, yeah, that's great, but the flowers are the best part to me. That's the most like beneficial. Mary Jane, marijuana, right, which is a very divine feminine plant. It's marijuana is
Sure.
not. I want Mary John. You're not like, yo, roll me a joint of that Mary John with all those seeds in there. You're like, nah, I'm looking for Mary Jane. Like, I want the divine feminine flowers, you
Totally.
know?
Sinsemilla, right?
Yeah.
So this is the cool thing. So there's two aspects to look at this. So the cannabis plant is asexual. It has the capacity to wait. No, it's not the cannabis plant.
It has the capacity to reproduce within itself because even the female seeds have female plants have a few seeds. You can find one seed per bud sometimes. But
Right. So
I,
the thing that I've learned is the the cannabis that is being brought into the dispensaries and all of that, this whole new motivation to monetize and commercialize cannabis, it when you get these very potent strains of cannabis, the only reason that they have so much resin and so much potency is because you are starving a feminine plant that is craving the masculine essence. So out here in Mexico, all of the weed is grown outside, and it is very like you can smoke a lot of it, and it's very gentle. It doesn't have that California or Toronto quality because well, it's from an economic standpoint. It takes too many resources to make these plants so strong. But when you have a very strong cannabis flower, it's because you have starved that feminine plant. It's craving the masculine essence,
or
and it's producing these resins.
in some rare situations, even when it's growing outside, but with like cannabis cup winners that are known to be like some of the stuff that I've been smoking, like OG Kush, Durban Poison, Afghani Kush, White Widow, you know, Blueberry
But
OG.
you know that's a starvation of the feminine. The reason it
Tech
produces that resin is because
not starving.
it's saying why is the
Not,
pollen not why is the
not,
masculine pollen not pollinating? So it
it
produces more and more
actually
out of
is.
starvation.
Those ones are grown outside. They're grown with lots of like they have like a lot of natural leaves on them. They're grown next to the male and the female are grown together. They
Oh, okay, okay.
they're grown like in natural environments. They're not grown indoor in like, growing hydroponic like grow houses and stuff like that. So completely different. You know how much this is the reason why? Because in Mexico you can go buy an ounce for like $10 or $20 or some shit, right? They sometimes even cheaper.
Usually $4.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
10 or 20. Yeah.
No, I believe you. So the point being here, it's the same kind of thing. The indigenous marijuana that I get is like literally the equivalent of maybe $15 an ounce.
But just the idea of the production of the resins in the female plant, the reason these buds, these flowers get so potent is because they're starving for the masculine pollen.
Yes.
And that's something to take into consideration because what does that do psychologically? Look, ganja's great on all spectrums. It's just when you realize that the most potent ganja is a feminine plant that has been starving for its counterpart, then you realize that there's an imbalance there. And when you're taking that in on a regular basis, it can very much distort your mental faculties and everything. And it's just something to consider,
Yeah, like
just
I
the
said, it
biology.
depends because some you would be right about would be potent for starving. Others would be potent just purely naturally in their essence of
True,
being.
true,
Durban
true,
is not starving because it's needing the masculine plant. It's potent because it's like me being grown eating hot peppers. Some people could be like, he eats hot pepper because he was lacking love. But I'm like, no, it's because I grew up and I was born with hot pepper inside of me. Like I was
for
born.
sure. But you've got to at least say that like these potent flowers of cannabis, like it's like 50-50. Some of them are naturally forming these resins, and then some of them they're producing them out of a state of it's like a survival mechanism.
Yeah,
I do believe it's 50-50.
sure, but the ones that I found like seeds naturally occurring in the female plants as well, just very few, but enough to be able to grow some once in a while. I pull out a seed here and there, and I keep them for my next seed collection for the next summer, to be able to plant when need be. And
Nice, nice.
to me, that's a sign that that's a healthy plant. It doesn't smell like chemicals, doesn't smell like pesticides. It's actually like beautiful, beautiful outdoor, but also like, good, strong varieties of like very potent champion, like high CBD, high THC marijuana, which is actually beneficial in both cases and is very well balanced. The cannabinoids are exceptional on that range.
Totally. And something to articulate the most widespread receptor in our bodies beyond neurological receptors or immune functions. It's the endocannabinoid system. We have receptors in our bodies widespread from head to toe that only interface with two plants, chocolate and cannabis. And when we take cannabis into our body, it actually reminds our entire system how to function properly, in how to communicate to different organs and strengthen the immune system. Cannabis is a true healing plant. And I would love to get into the plants in terms of this conversation, but maybe we should start from the top. So the first concept that I was introducing was the relevance, or sorry, your personal relationship as well as mine regarding music and sound, and then how that translates as a medicinal offering. How can sound and music actually heal? So, if you want to take the lead here, what is your relationship with music and how can it actually heal?
So if we are what we eat, right, which fits into the other topics we were going to discuss anyways regarding nutrition, then what we put into our bodies, what we ingest in terms of silent input in our DNA building material is actually coming back out through the same output that we put it in when we're not speaking, when we're not singing, when we're not rhyming, then we're stuffing food silently into our mouths or loudly, depending, making a certain different kind of shamanistic utterance while we're fueling ourselves to be able to speak out. But if we're fueling with nothing but misery, then how can sound be therapy if the sound that we're speaking isn't made from soul food? If we're soulless, can we be soulful? No, it makes no kind of sense. So then it follows that we should be eating soul food, and chicken soup for the soul is definitely not what it should be, because there's no fucking way you could eat a baby and make it soulful. So then that's what we should be talking about, is music as therapy in relation to nutrition, which is the vortex, the verbal vortex of a chakra, which is not even acknowledged, because just like the 0 point chakra, which is at the base of our spine and actually doesn't have a localized point, that would be Sunyata chakra. That's the 0 point chakra that powers the vortex of our toroidal force field from the bottom to the top that replenishes through the crown chakra. Then the verbal vortex of our black hole and quasar uttering chakra of the mouth is not even acknowledged, hence why we are like in the realm of hungry ghosts and we're wandering ghosts stuffing that silent chakra full without actually acknowledging the verbal vortex of self-manifesting destiny as prophecy, which corresponds to that seventh nerve bundle, which makes sense because seventh is self-prophecies, archangelic, that's the seventh sense. And then the eighth would be shamanic, which is the third eye vision. And the ninth is the manifestation of the crown, which is instant manifestation as world messenger. And that's the nine major nerve bundles. Now, the third one here is unspoken and silent, but would correspond again with the bundle between the mouth and the throat chakra, which is the manifestation of the vocal cord, which technically speaking would go with Vishuddha, but there should be another one for the mouth, just like there should be one for the nose, just like there should be two for the ears, just like there should be two more for the eyes. And there are, like we've talked about the 36 chakra system before, but I would say music as sound therapy is about the verbal vibration of the quasar of utterances, shamanic or not, coming from instruments, from sacred utterances, from mantras, from different tonal expressions, phonemic, phonetic. And I think we could all kind of agree that music is a very special kind of medicine. If water is life and food is medicine, then music is definitely life and medicine as well. It's a verbal compendium of all of these things.
Yeah, and our bodies are 80% water, so the resonance, even the most quiet music or the most quiet conversation, anything on the sound vibration, it impacts and resonates. Imagine water. You throw the tiniest, even the tiniest pebble, you can see the ripples casting out. So when we convey anything through language, okay, so what separates us from all other mammals, all other beings? We are utilizing a linguistic syntax. We are speaking, we're not whistling like birds, and I love those birds' whistles, but we are utilizing our sound frequency to actually communicate conceptual ideas. And just like a pebble can ripple throughout a pond, when you say even one word, even if it's hello, one word, because of the nature of sound, it ripples into the bloodstream of all surrounding beings who can hear that. And it, because we're 80% water, the impact of even a single word is absolutely the highest level of transformation. That's why they say in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word is God. God is the expression through the. So much with power comes great responsibility, of course, and music is like the highest form of that, because then you're bringing in the creative aspect to it as well. And anyone listening, if you have even the slightest inclination towards continuing with a musical instrument that you maybe learned several years ago, you have to absolutely, please, please, please continue developing that craft, because your efforts and your contribution with your music, even if it's just practicing in your own isolated space, you're still impacting humanity on a level that you would never believe.
Yes, very true. Yo, that's crazy. I'm just realizing how fickle life can be in a sense, because I just like was standing up trying to roll up this spliff, and then I realized that I had like a seizure in the back of my like my spinal marmas. Like there's 33 spinal marmas, and I have three of them that are displaced from a guy trying to murder me on high security back in the days. And I've been healing that with cannabis. But ironically, what I needed is what actually triggered what I needed to heal it with. Also, it's very interesting to see how fragile the balance of life can be, and how much we think we're powerful as the top of the food chain, as Homo sapiens sapiens, as this unique creation, but really, we're just very vulnerable, hypersensitive, hyper-aware beings that have a lack of awareness of our own condition and what we cause Mother Nature in the
Totally.
process.
This is one of the most powerful and most relevant concepts, is our hypersensitivity. So I've worked with ayahuasca for over 13 years. The most consistent message that she kept delivering to me was, even though the Bible is highly corrupted, we're talking like sacred texts in general, they've been corrupted on many levels, but there's this concept of, in Christianity, Jacob's ladder, or this idea of an upward progression. As soon as you get the next step on the ladder, on your level of understanding, you get to that next level, there's another lesson immediately available. So there's never a dull moment. We have to remember that even if you're learning and you're feeling like you're in a really good process of growth,
But
you've got to be.
however, there is adultery, adulthood, adulation. That's a dull moment, a dull cross to bear when people become adults instead of being rebellious teenagers, eternal youths. When people become a dull being, then they become adults.
Yo, totally. And that's one of the other topics was language and etymology. So there is a beautiful a beautiful talk that yeah, there
Oh,
was a
yo.
beautiful discourse about the nature of etymology. So we wake. Well, what is awake? We wake every morning. Well, awake is a funeral for the dead. We wake for the morning. Well, when you wake up in the morning, awake is well, not a celebration. It's a recognition. It's a funeral for the morning. Well, mourning is what we do when people die, and then uh, we take our time to earn our living. Well, what do you put the ashes of the dead in? And earn. So we're earning our living to focus on an undertaking. We call our work, our professions, an undertaking. So we
And
can go
work
through the week. We can go.
operations, which is
We
a
can go through the week. The week Monday to Friday, we go through the week in order to reach the weekend so we can be weakened. And it's like when you see these patterns of language, it's absolutely mind blowing. Now, it's not that there's some conspiracy that our language was programmed in that
oh no,
way. This is just the way
that
that
actually
the natural synchronicity
it's
has brought this into manifestation.
you know, it's because they stole it from French and inverted it in double speak. 1984 explains that in some ways, but it's not the ideal book to express that. But science fiction, actually, speculative fiction rather, deconstructs that very accurately. And the
Yes.
point is, for example, gouvernement in French, government, gouvernement means governs and lies. Literally, the exact same word,
Yeah.
same root,
And
same
then in
word.
English,
And
government means to rule the mind. And yeah, there's it's not like we were it's
violent.
not like the language was designed for deception, but it just filters through in that way where the synchronicity of it's been a long time coming. It was just destiny that the language was manifested and defined in a way that shows us the truth. It's not that someone was choosing the definition of these words to have some hidden context. Hey, in some aspects, there are certain words that were designed to deceive. Here's an
Yeah.
example. So what we don't realize is the legal system, it creates so many decisions for how people receive justice and recognition for uh, a lot of confusion and potential crimes or whatever. So
Well,
here's an
what is
aspect
the
here.
penal system? What is the penal system? It's a patriarchal dick system of
The
punishment and
penalize, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, we can get right into that. No,
like
there's many aspects in the English language that can show you
pena,
yeah,
pena,
yeah.
penal,
No, you're
pena,
onto it with the
like
palace. Like you want to move to a royal palace. Well, the palace is the phallus, and there's
yeah,
many
look
aspects
at
where you can see.
all
Yeah,
those like depictions of beautiful fucking palaces. They're all phallic towers
yeah. Well,
stretching up towards
the palace is the phallus. Yeah, for sure.
the dick in the sky. So,
And
what is
the police is
it
the palace, right?
to bind to submit in submission to the Roman god of war, Mars? But
And
yo,
I think something with religious training, there's like seminary or something.
yeah, which comes
Yeah,
from the root or the seed, narius,
see,
seminaries, right? So that the seed of war, the seminary is to plant the seed of war by raping, by pillaging, like the gymnasiums were for molesting boys in Greece and Rome. And we're abusing children, and now we have a whole political system made up of fake fucking Roman and Greek temples where they're abusing children in neo-residential education with psychic rape and abuse and torture and neglect, and forced residential, semi-residential schooling options with going home on the weekend and on the end of day. It's like
here,
it's
here's
a
one more point. I'm gonna have to take a pause for a second. I'm gonna need to take like a 2-minute break, but okay.
no, yo,
So
let's just call it a night, honestly, because we've been talking for a while about this. We can put a part two on this, no problem. We
For
can get
sure.
back.
I just wanted to bring one more point to the table. So, with the legal system, they, at least in the US and Canada, they hinge all of their linguistic definitions. They hinge all of their linguistic definitions on Black's Law Dictionary. So Black's Law Dictionary has 9 versions, and this is like a 1,000-page book, which is the officially recognized uh, etymological and linguistic source for legal proceedings. It's a dictionary.
But
So
you know,
when you look up the
law, brethren,
uh,
indigenous law, natural law.
oh hell yeah. I'm just wanting to draw one conclusion here. So if you look up the uh, okay, one second. Interfallopian. Oh yeah, a gift. So if you look up in Black's Law Dictionary, which US, Canadian, European Union, Commonwealth nations, they all hinge their definitions linguistically on Black's Law Dictionary. You can get the free PDF online. This is the gold standard of legal terminology for words, Black's Law Dictionary. And if you look up the word gift, like, oh, we got a gift for Christmas, right? But no, gift in Black's Law Dictionary is defined as a gamete interfallopian transfer. So they're getting into feminine biology. Like, it's the deception is who, whatever sources of esoteric corrupted wisdom brought us into this situation, they're utilizing linguistic curses and biology. And, like, there's a universal law. If I'm going to deceive you and destroy your life, if I tell you about it and I show it to you, then I'm free from blame. This is it's sort of like a well, I don't want to say it's like a satanic law, but it's sort of like a Luciferian deceptive law where as long as I'm showing my victims what I'm doing to them, I do not receive as much karma. So if you look in Black's Law Dictionary, the word gift, G-I-F-T, is defined as a gamete interfallopian transfer, which is speaking of the feminine reproductive system. So when you're talking about your given name, or you have
Actually, parthenogenesis in that pure form. Gamete interfallopian transfer would be like actually a parthenogenetic releasing of the sperm
yes,
through interfallopian.
but this is how the word gift is defined. And what are you doing every time you step into a courtroom? You are being asked, what is your given name? Well, your given name, well, what is given is a gift, right? This is the same language. Well, what
You
is
know
a
what
gift defined by these people?
courtroom standards? Anton Oscara, the spear of destiny. That's my
Oh, hell
given.
yeah. No, I'm all about transmuting it. It's just the word gift, it relates to the word given. And what they always ask is, what is your given name? This is referring to the word gift. And gift, as defined by these people, is a gamete interfallopian transfer. It's shamanic interbiological. So the way that is
Yo, you're chopping out. Brethren, I'm gonna call this a day because it looks like you're chopping in and out. Oh, okay. Well, that's what it is. But yo, that's a very interesting way to end this. So remember, the present is an illusion, but the present to present a gift is to represent itself in the form of what you are. And it is information technology, gift is gamete, interfallopian transfer. Very interesting to think of. Fallopian tube, fallopian transfer. Anyways, very interesting to look at acronyms like that and to realize who we truly are, which is infinite rainbow tribes. So peace and respect. respect to all of you. It's been an absolute pleasure. This is Sentient Synchronicities, and we were talking about practically everything under the sun, or literally under the light, or under the darkness, because we're in the midst of a polar vortex in subarctic climates in the Appalachian foothills, and we're all across to Mexico with Ryan Sage Live, and all across to Amiskwasi Waskahiken with Anthony. So we're all across the planet, all across the diaspora and beyond that. And we got fam, mad fam worldwide, 1 degree of separation, even massive amounts, but 8 degrees. Look at One Nation. Check out Black Lotus Sangha. Check out Revolt Motion Records on Bandcamp. Peace.